Okay, so today we're going to talk about direct variation. So what that is it's a fancy way of saying setting up proportions, which is a fraction equal to a fraction. So the biggest thing is we have to make sure our units match. So we have 4 steps. Step 1, we're going to label the variables or units, set up our proportion, multiply, and then divide. So on a word problem, you're always going to go straight to the question. So my question is right here, on the question mark. So you're going to see what 2 variables are given to you in the question. So staying focused on just the question, my 2 variables that are given to me are going to be y, and then it's going to be x. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with y over x. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure that I am labeling them exactly how they look. So I'm going to make sure my color coding is right. So it says that x is equal to 64. So I'm going to put 64 on the bottom because that's where my x is in the denominator. I'm looking for what is the value of y. I don't know what y is, so I'm just going to put a y. Equals. Okay, so this is step 1 right here. I set up my variables. Step 2 is setting up the proportions, which I'm doing right now. So I'm going to go to the rest of the question. I am not going to read it. I'm going to look for just numbers. The first number I see is going to be 512. So 512 is connected to my x, so I'm going to highlight it the same color. And I'm going to put it in the same place in my denominator for x. Then my next is going to be y, which is going to be 128, which is right here. And so that's going to go in my numerator, which is going to be with my y's. So all of them are the same color. So if I were to highlight them, this is y, y, and then this is going to be x and x. So that was step 2. Step 3 is going to be multiply. Now, this has probably been taught to you in the past as far as butterfly method, but in high school we don't say that, we just say multiply. So I am going to multiply y times 512. Well, 512 times y is just 512y. This is step 3. Then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, the other 2 numbers, which is 64 times 128. So when you put that in your calculator and you get 64 times 128, that is going to be, sorry, I didn't write it down. 64 times 128 is going to equal 8,192. So then I'm going to go ahead and write that down. I have 512y is equal to 8,192. So now we're going to do step 4. Step 4 is going to be to divide. Now the reason I'm dividing is because when I have a number in front of a variable, that means I'm multiplying. Well, the inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by the number in front of the variable, which is 512. And what I do to one side of the equal side, I'm going to do to the other. These cancels out. I did not touch my y, so I'm going to bring it down. And then whenever you divide 8,192 by 512, you get 16. And that's your final answer. So again, biggest thing is step 1, we're going to set up the variables of units. Step 2, we're going to set up the proportion. Step 3, we're going to multiply. Step 4, we are going to divide. So let's go ahead and do one more. I'm going to go straight to the question, which is right here. Same thing, x, and then I have another one, which is y. So y over x. Now, it is not important, so actually let me just go ahead and switch it up. It doesn't matter which order you put it in, x over y or y over x, as long as it all matches, okay? So this is going to be your y, and then this is going to be your x, okay? So your x is 28. You're looking for your y. So then don't read the problem, look for the numbers, okay? X is 3.5. So I'm going to do 3.5 over, okay, and then your other number that you get is going to be, over here, 14. So right here. So again, this was step 1. This is step 2. Step 3 is where we're going to multiply, which is here. So step 3 is going to be 3.5 times y, which is just 3.5y. Then you're going to do 28 times 14. 28 times 14 is 392. And so I'm going to go ahead and set that up. I'm going to have 3.5y is equal to 392. And step 4 is going to be to divide. So you always divide by the number in front of the variable on both sides. You didn't touch the y, so you bring it down. And then your final answer is going to be 112.